the king.
So you think you guys got a lot in common?
In some aspects, yeah, we do.
How are you guys different?
Both.
Sake of the weight difference, Terence Crawford isn't taking any chances against Canelo Alvarez. Instead of training alone, he's now added the skill and knowledge of the first man to beat Canelo Alvarez. In the ring, Terence Crawford has chosen to start training camp very early. So he puts on weight and tries to get used to it before his fight in September. He does plan to take a short break in the middle of the year, though Crawford had already invited Floyd Mayweather to his camp a long time before. Him had a great time. It was to be expected that Mayweather had to do most of his work on Crawford's defense. They did some dancing, worked on the shoulder roll, and did more body feints. Canelo Alvarez was 23 years old when Mayweather faced him, while Mayweather was in his mid-30s. However, Floyd Mayweather's defense was so good that Canelo Alvarez barely hit him in 12 rounds. It's an honor for Mayweather to have trained many great boxers over the years, including Ryan Garcia Floyd. Mayweather knows a lot about fighting, which helped Dev Haney and Gervin Davis. His latest trainee is Terence Crawford, and he did have some words to share with his fans about his time with Floyd Mayweather. Well, you might wonder why Terence Crawford, a professional boxer with 40 fights of experience, was seeking Mayweather's help at such a late hour, a few fights away from his retirement. His reason isn't far-fetched. However, Terence Crawford's next fight marks his start at 168, music LB as a result. He went to Floyd Mayweather, who has been a world champion in 5 weight classes, for some lessons recently. In an interview, Floyd Mayweather brought back thoughts of his famous fight against Canelo Alvarez in a weight class. Have one fight, and the fight was at a catch weight, but it wasn't my plan. Anyone can hold online and pull this up. It was a story. So with Canelo at one time, I think Canelo thought I was scared of him, that I was afraid. So he said, Floyd doesn't want to fight me. I'm willing to meet him at 152 or 152 and the pounds. And me, I called his bluff and said, if you want to do it, let's do it at 152 or 152 and 2. That after Canelo made the weight, it wasn't like it was a certain rule SCH where he couldn't gain weight. He weighed 152 or 152 and A2. I think he came in at 168 or close to 170, but I came in at 151 or 15.
Gave the sport of boxing their whole life and sacrificed a lot inside that square circle. They should feel that way. So if he feel that way, more power to him. I had one fight, and the fight wasn't actually at it.
I was scared of him. Perhaps Terence Crawford felt this was good enough for him as well, since he had so much to learn about the new weight class he'll be moving to in less than a month, despite the fact that boxing fans have seriously drawn comparisons between Floyd Mayweather Jr. and Terence Crawford, but refused to deprive the 50-0 boxing champion of his due honors. Terence Crawford respects Floyd Mayweather, and when he was asked about their similarities, he had a few more things to say. As well teased, the King Crawford praised he recognized Flo's greatness, not get hit to make the adjustments that he's made to a certain fights. He then continued, we have quite a lot in common in some areas, but we're a little different because I take more chances earlier in his job. He was taking a lot of chances in his career.
I catch weight, but it wasn't my idea. So at one particular time, you guys can, anybody, you can go online and pull this up. It was an article. So with Canelo said, I believe Canelo at one particular time thought I was scared of him,
Winner of a fight between the two fighters. When it comes to pure boxing skill, you'd be hard-pressed to find another producer of more sweet science masterclasses than Floyd Mayweather. Floyd Mayweather, you talk about money. Or do you talk about Pretty Boy, because Freddie Boy was the what is seek and destroyed the crisp jab, precision timing, and counter-punching ability, all enabled Mayweather to pick his long list of opponents apart, and he did it over 2 iterations of himself. Rich on the left hooks again, and the lightning hands. Be extraordinary left hook drops him and hit his head off the en masse here at the engine. Just as Crawford said, Pretty Boy was the more aggressive boxer, taking the fight to opponents, while Money Mayweather years later would compute and edge opponents out with brilliant boxing. Whichever style you prefer, both pieces of work made the ledge, and that is Floyd Mayweather Jr. Comparatively, boxing fans are still into what Crawford did to Spence in his last Fight the power, JB, that he repeatedly snapped through Spence's guard hitting in traffic or the timing of counterpunches, but showed supreme boxing ability. And it wasn't the first time, but we've never seen it like that against a fighter of Spence's caliber. When talking about pure boxing ability, arguably nobody should get a push over Mayweather, but Crawford's style of boxing is different yet effective, even explosive in its own right. So, Mayweather, Floyd Mayweather, you talk about money, or do you talk about pretty boy because Freddie boy was the what is seek and destroyed the crisp jab precision timing and counter-punching ability, all enabled Mayweather to pick his long list of opponents apart. And he did its over 2 iterations of himself rich on the left hooks again, and the lightning hands be extraordinary left hook drops him and hit his head off the en masse. Here at the engine, just as Crawford said pretty Bowie was. The more aggressive boxer taking the fight to opponents, while Money Mayweather years later would compute and edge opponents out with brilliant boxing. Whichever style you prefer, both pieces of work made the ledge. And that is Floyd Mayweather Jr. Comparatively, boxing fans are still into what Crawford did to Spence in his last fight, the power, JB, that he repeatedly snapped through Spence's guard hitting in traffic or the timing of counterpunches, but showed supreme boxing ability, and it wasn't the first time, but we've never seen it like that against a fighter of Spence's caliber. When talking about pure boxing ability, arguably nobody should get a push over Mayweather, but Crawford's style of boxing is different yet effective, even explosive in its own right. So, how would their boxing stack up if Crawford were to fight Mayweather in his prime and use his lasering shots against Mayweather's disciplined sweet science, who would make the jab? First, who would be the more successful counterpuncher? There are so many ways to see this play out that it might be best to call this category a music draw. How many times have we witnessed Mayweather Lawn finally lure his opponents to the middle of the ring where he computed information, analyzed it, and uploaded a blueprint to pick his opponents apart? Mayweather took his ring IQ and mantra of hit and not a hit and basically rode it to the Hall of Fame as an undefeated 5-division world champion. Crawford, in being crowned undisputed at junior, welterweight and now welterweight, has shown a high ring IQ himself. Throughout his career, Mayweather showed hand speed, especially on the counter-punching end, but Crawford's slashing angles and whiplashing delivery but owning the Eden speed over Mayweather's 50 wins, 27 came by way of knockout out. That's in comparison to Crawford's 40 wins, 31 of them coming via knockout. And he's still active now. Re-enter Crawford's wizardry over Spence, dropping him 3 times en route to a dominant 9th round TKO, defeating a power-punching, body-snatching fighter like Spence, who systematically broke down Kell Brook's Sean Porter. And why Dennis Yugas to become the unified world welterweight champion was anything but easy, yet Crawford had made it look key, and his power was a big reason why Mayweather painted in the corner, raising that shoulder into the Philly shell and absorbing shots with his arm while using his free hand to pick his punches. It was defensive boxing turned counter-punching at its very best. Look at this defense. Unbelievable. Young boxing fans that are watching Floyd Mayweather, you've seen one of the greatest defensive fighter of all time. I mean, that's how strong everywhere. And then he's nowhere you think you. And again, it's not just handquake. Crawford has some good defense to him as well. But Mayweather took defensive boxing skills to another level of damn near perfection, all thought up. How would a crit against a prime Mayweather fight actually go, and who would win after a tense first round where each boxer is trying to feel out the other? We see Crawford being the more active and busy fighter early on, launching and scoring shots, even if many of them are absorbed by Mayweather's shoulder and elbow. By the middle rounds, Mayweather's style would set in as he pepper Crawford with jabs, winning some rounds, moving of the head to the way he rolls with punches. Look at the way he makes a miss. I mean, here we go to a series of punches, nothing really land yet, with a steady flow of pressure. Crawford's firepower could get to Mayweather even enough to hurt the legend at times, as close as we see this one being Crawford's fighting skill. And those with flashing punches might be just enough to have judges credit him on his pressure and volume en route to a point. And over Mayweather's brand of boxing, well, moving away from the contrast, going up in weight isn't as easy as it seems to many, and to up his game, Terence Crawford is hoping not to repeat the mistakes of Canelo Alvarez.
The way he rolls with punches. Look at the way he makes it miss. I mean, here we go. Do a series of punches and nothing really landed. Terrific fight for Mayweather. Oh,
Some years back, when he faced Dimitri Bivol, seeking as much help as possible, Canelo Alvarez's lofty ambition caught up with him after the pound-for-pound king met his match in the form of unbeaten World Boxing Association light heavyweight champion Dimitri Bivol Alvarez. For division champion, landed a career-low 80 for punches overall in 12 rounds, as Bivol relied on his defense and accurate punching to pull the offset via unanimous decision inside T-Mobile Arena in Las Vegas. All three judges scored at 115,116 for Bivol in a fight that looked anything but competitive, as CBS Sports scored at 109 in favor of Dill 6 months after becoming the first undefeated super middleweight champion of the four-belt. Tia Alvarez moved back up to 175 pounds for the first time since claiming the World Boxing Seed title via knockout from Sergey Kovalev in 2019. But during the same week, he teased that OS's possible move to heavyweight. Alvarez was unable to break through the technical strength of BVLA. Former Russian amateur star whose strength is muting the offense of his opponents, DL's jab was on point throughout, and he consistently reacted to any single punch landed by Alvarez with clean combinations. In return, Dill allowed Alvarez to stand at close range in front of him, but never gave him a clean enough strike zone to drop upon. Most of the damage Alvarez to hit on was to the left shoulder and arm of Bivol, who stayed firm behind his high guard. Alvarez, whose previous lone loss came against Floyd Mayweather in 2013, connected on just 177% of his punches against Bivol, was outlanded by a margin of 150 to 284 according to CompuBox. He also told reporters after that he thought he was ahead on the scorecards going into the final rounds. He's a great winner. Sometimes in fighting you win or lose. I lost today and he won, Alcor said. He's a really good boxer. He's a fighter who comes in and goes out. I also felt his power. It was a good win for him. It's in a bit to avoid such damage that Crawford has sought Mayweather's advice. As for Floyd Mayweather's result as a trainer and fighter speak for themselves, the most recent boxer that spent time with him shocked the world with a big win early this year. Music during a long interview